to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday, and today is a sponsored show by Tobi Fairley. And I know that you all love to hear that name and see that name in my queue as much as I do. So first of all, Tobi, thank you and welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here. And I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Thank you. Me too. And of course, we are here to talk about Tobi's course. Tobi has a course called Design You Coaching Program. And 2 seconds before I get into that, I just want to say two things. If it's possible that you're in the interior design field and you don't know who Tobi is, I would have to say, don't tell anybody that, first of all. Just go look her up and then say, yeah, sure, I know who she is, right? But Tobi Fairley is an interior designer, is an accomplished luxury interior designer in Arkansas. But in more than that, she's a fabric designer, and she's also a business coach, a life coach, and she has her own podcast as well called Design You. And Tobi, Tobi is really one of our industry leaders and has been for many years in helping and mentoring interior designers become better business persons. And what I love is when you go to Tobi's site, you guys know, anytime I go to, first of all, we go to everybody's website before they come on the show, right? Yeah. I always point out to them, Tobi, when somebody does a particularly good, copy or line or even a full about you page. And I love that on your page, it says, I help smart, talented interior designers and creatives like you say no to busy and create a business life you love. And this is it. It's like right there in one sentence, we get everything that you're about. And so if this is new for you, if you really are meeting Tobi for the first time, you can certainly listen to her podcast, Design You, or you can go back to my podcast, episode number 419, where Tobi and I on that podcast, we talked a lot more about her business and how she does design and where she is and what she's doing now and her opinions on the industry and where it's going. So for that information, go there. But today we've got Tobi here and she's going to be talking to us about our coaching program. So Tobi, exactly. I am so excited and so glad that you are with us today. So thank you.
Oh, honestly, you have such an amazing engaged audience. And I've had so many people reach out since the last time we did our other podcast. And we've had several people join the membership, the coaching membership, and just getting results already. And so I just thought we've got to take this information to Luann's people and tell them what's there, because there's so many people that are so excited about the progressive ideas we talked about, but then they're like, okay, now what? How do I figure out how to do this? And it's scary. And what do you mean? And I've never heard anything like that before. And so I'm like, I'm here to help. Just call me. So, but they don't know what that means. So I thought, let's go tell them exactly what that looks like.
Right. It's funny because I had multiple designers reach out to me and tell me that they love the show with you on it and everything. And I had one designer, Jillian, tell me that she listened to it 4 times.
She joined the program.
Yeah. So shout out to Jillian. I love Jillian. She's great. And I said to you, you're going to love having Jillian in your program. She's done a few masterminds with me. And as a coach, you love when you are working and teaching someone who you can tell is taking the information to heart. And what, how I always tell the questions that they ask, right? Because the finer the question is, or the deeper it is, then you know they're really working actively to process the information.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And there's so much to this that is just really the mindset work. And that's why I think that what I do is different from other people. There's other coaches out there that I know, I know a lot of them personally, and I know they do amazing things. But what's different about what I do is bringing together not only the really progressive ideas of where I think the industry is going, but the hardest part of the whole thing is to get out of your own head and over your own fears and all of that negative self-talk and the what ifs. And there's just so much of that.
Yes.
And if we can get people over that, the tools and the techniques are going to work every single time. And I think that when someone engages, like you're saying, and they ask questions, then you can help I can draw out things from them that may be holding them back. I can talk through it. And the people who aren't willing to do that, it's hard to make a ton of progress. Like, you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to trust me. And I think that I was emailing back and forth with somebody earlier today that had sent me a message on Instagram. She had listened to one of my recent podcast episodes, and she reached out to me and she was like, oh my God, I think I'm doing everything wrong. This is so much more progressive than I've ever heard, and I don't want to go down the old path. And so I said, well, just send me an email. And the first line of the email says, well, I already trust you because you care enough to give me your own personal email to let me ask you questions about the program. But if people can trust me and know that I really do have their back, because I love nothing more, like it says on my website, than helping people really thrive and love their business. If you can trust me and you can show up, even though it's scary, and ask questions and engage, just like you're saying that Jillian did for you, then we're going to get results. We're going to make baby steps, and then we're going to make huge steps. And then you're going to really see it all come together. That's the hardest part, is the mindset piece and getting over those fears.
It's so true, because the principles work, and the principles, you can find the principles in a book. You can find step 1, step 2, step 3. But the fact of the matter is it's what happens between the ears that clogs it. And until you can unlock that, then the principles all day long, are going to always confuse you and make you feel more anxious, because you haven't dealt with the thing first that clears the stuff in your head out of the way. And the other thing that I like in mentioning Jillian is that type of, smart, engaged personality she's smart. She's not just out of the block, right? She's experienced. She's actually even taught at university design to designers and stuff. But she's smart. She's so smart that she recognizes that she can be taught. And I love that type of personality as well, because we've all meet the but you girls. Right. The yeah, but girls.
Exactly. And that think they're the exception and think their clients are the exception. And everybody always in some way thinks they're the exception. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but not me. Yeah, we're very unique in theory, but when it comes to this stuff, we are all exactly the same in so many ways. It's so funny. And so anytime something starts out with, I'm the exception, I'm like, well, not really, but that's okay. We can get beyond that.
But that's it. And so I know that, she's going to be a terrific asset to your whole group. And of course, she's going to learn so much from you. So here's the thing. The coaching course is a yearly program. Right. So it's not like a stop and a start sort of thing. You have all different components with it.
Right. So I started calling it I was originally calling it a monthly program, because I do let you break your payments up monthly, which I get because it helps people so much. And if you want to pay for a whole year, you get a better price. But I get that not everybody can just lay out, because it's let's go ahead and tell the price, because people wonder, and we talked about that. It's $279, $279.99 a month, or if you buy for a whole year at a time, it's $2,799. So you save like almost $600 if you buy, like you get 2 months free essentially. But I get that not everybody's comfortable just writing a check for that. And so, but I started calling it a yearly program instead of a monthly program, mainly because it's not just a course. It's my 3 signature courses that I've taught before inside the program that you take. So, digital marketing for creatives, which has really become kind of the backbone of this program, because that's all where really what people are interested that are hearing me talk lately and wanting to get their business future ready and meet their customers where they are. So that's a huge piece of it. Then you also get access to my designer MBA program that I've had for years, but I just keep it updated. I just updated it again in November. And that's really the foundational part of being an interior designer, setting up your design business, showing your value, how to charge, and a whole, all that stuff. So very much the building blocks. Even if you've been in business for 20 years, there's so many people not doing all of those pieces.
It's so true.
And then the other course, which I'm actually teaching live, it's already in there right now, but I'm teaching it live, which I love to do. And then the newest version of the recordings will be in there soon. I'm teaching it live in July. So anybody that joins now and in the next couple of weeks will be there to have almost like this. I teach it on Crowdcast, but it's kind of like you and I are, people don't know if they're listening to audio, but we're also recording a Zoom video right now just for fun. So we'll have that. So if they happen to see this on YouTube, it's kind of like this where you're watching me teach, but that's happening in July because I felt the need to update some more of the financial content because I'm just always looking at everything I'm teaching and going, is this the latest and best information to get all of that stuff to the members? And also I try to take all the scary stuff, which finances I think are the scariest thing for most creatives, and again, just like I do in every part of the program, have their back. Mm-hmm. So I'm teaching that one again with updated information and helping people stop being afraid to look at what their finances are, stop being afraid to make money or pretending that they can't make money or pretending that they are making money and they're really not, all of that stuff. Yeah. So you get all of those courses. And then the thing people love the most is twice a month, I do live calls just like this where everybody's on Zoom and I can see all your faces. I feel like it's kind of the Brady Bunch, like we have everybody in there.
Fun, isn't it?
And people can just raise their hand and we will stay on they're supposed to be 90 minutes. We've just gone ahead and said they're 2 hours, which sometimes they're 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I know sometimes people are saying, how in the world do I have 2 hours twice a month? But that content, that real time answering questions, fixing people's problems, helping them with their mindset, like just in real time, that access to me alone is worth far more than the price that you pay. I mean, literally one tiny question that you don't even ask, that somebody else asks, and you hear it and you apply it in your business, you can easily make $300 in a month just from one good answer to one of those scenarios. So it's awesome. But the reason that your question was about a yearly program, but the thing about it is, especially the digital marketing part, you can't do that in a month. You can't do that in 3 months. You can't implement that in probably 6 months. Sometimes it takes the first 3 months for people to just get their head around how they feel about that, how it's different than the way they've been working, getting their mindset right. So what I've seen with the people who started with me last year when I launched the beta version of this back in March or April, and they've gone all the way through that, then the public launch, and they've been in now for 15 or 16 months, they're still going strong and they still haven't implemented everything, but it took a good 9 to 12 months before I felt like they really hit their stride and they got all the kind of building blocks in place and they felt comfortable enough to really start putting themselves out there in new ways with their website and their social media and really diving into niche marketing and all the things that I teach in there. And so if you think you're going to come in for a couple of months and leave and get the benefits, it's just impossible. Right. Because the beauty is I'm working through it with you. I mean, honestly, people will come in there and make a post we use a platform called Mighty Networks. It's kind of like having a free Facebook group, but better because everything lives in there together and the courses are in there. It's real cool. We teach you how to use it. It's not scary or anything. But the cool thing is people come in and make a post like in the thread, like you would on Facebook, and we'll literally say, I'm freaking out. I'm supposed to go live or launch my website or whatever. And we literally can, support people in real time, hold their hands, tell them all the reasons they're amazing, tell them everything that's going to work and help them push, like go live or send or whatever it is. Yeah. And then it's so fun to watch because almost instantly they'll get feedback that's so positive and they were so afraid of. And then once they do that, they're convinced. They're like, this does work. I get it. And then the real work can really begin. So a lot of our members are, well into year 2 and they're not going anywhere anytime soon because how else can you get this level of coaching at that price
Oh no, the
with
price is
real-time
crazy.
answers like all the time, and just everything that I'm always working on that's super progressive. If I believe in it, if I'm passionate about it, it's happening in that program.
Right. So the thing about it is now you had a beta launch, and then you had the people that have been in for one calendar year already, or coming up on a calendar year. Are they, whoever, in other words, whoever's in and is a current paid member, that you're all together in it. So for instance, if I come and I join today, when you go to that monthly coaching call, anybody can show up from the whole thing. So I get the benefit of the conversation. So it's not always just a new person conversation. It's somebody that has done something that you've suggested that they do, and they can see it working. And so, and I like that, because
and we do have accountability groups inside, because one of the things Mighty Networks allows us to do is to have individual groups, which are almost just like separate pages, and you can invite certain people to those. So we just recently created new groups based on kind of like your first 3 months, and then like 3 to 9 months, you're kind of all in the middle doing a lot of building. And then people who've gone to advanced techniques, they're in those as well. But that doesn't keep you from seeing everything else that everybody's doing. But it does keep some of the people who maybe would be afraid to post something that is total newbie, that they're going to think, oh, this is dumb. They feel comfortable because they're with people at their same level, and then kind of people in the middle are together, and then at the top. But as far as the live calls, as far as the regular feed, as far as all of the courses, as far as the place where we have everybody post the stuff they're creating, their lead magnets, their website links, their email campaigns, you can post all the stuff you're working on and get feedback from me, my team, some other experts that I have in there, your peers. We make sure all of that stuff is where everybody can see it, because I want everybody to benefit. So if you're just starting and you're like, I don't know what this is supposed to look like, you can go dig around in the group called Digital Marketing Assets and look at all these other amazing things that people have been working on for a year or 15 months, and it's remarkable, actually.
So now I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. Only because I know if it goes through my head, it went through one person's head. We have what is the mechanism? Is it honor code and you as the leader making sure and knowing that you're leading with integrity, and so you won't tolerate anything less? But is it that, or is there an additional mechanism? Because like you said, I can join today, go in, see what somebody's created as their digital assets, and we already have designers. I honestly, I was on a trip and I couldn't believe a designer was telling me about how she found out that another designer actually took the copy from her website and used it. And the funny thing is, in obviously 2 different parts of the country, and 5 years ago, you never would have known if somebody did that. But you know this stuff now, but only if you're awake and paying attention and looking around. So what is that like, Tobi? Because I know somebody's going to think about
that. And I immediately go to the mindset coaching, and I'm like, okay, well, look, that's scarcity mindset if you're worried that people are going to steal your stuff. And we go to have a whole conversation about just living with abundance. Because here's the thing. You can hide all your stuff, like, hide your paper. And the minute you hit publish on it, any human on the planet, just like the scenario you just described, could knock the whole thing off. And if they have more people following than you, they may do better with it than you did. So I just don't worry about that. But we do have, when you sign up, you have to sign a confidentiality clause that you won't like take my content or take somebody else's and go use it. But at the same time, some of that stuff is hard to enforce. And what I love to do is coach the people that have fears about it, even more than the people that would knock it off. Because, there are some people that might knock it off. And I always think, well, that's on you. And that's really,
you're bad karma.
That's on you. But I want the other people to see that it could happen anytime. It can happen literally, it doesn't matter how much money you put into something. Somebody can copy anything. So I think the thing to keep in mind is this. Most of the time, who really cares if 10 people that don't know your customer have your web content, if your web content is converting your customer? If you're making all the money that you need, like, we can get in an uproar about some of that stuff, but honestly, I'm not suggesting we do it, and I certainly don't want anybody knocking anybody else's stuff off, but we're going to be inspired by different things. We're going to be, if somebody's like, well, I'm going to create a lead magnet about a certain kind of budget for a project, somebody else might do that too. And so the end result is not does any other designer in the world have this on their website? Is my customer reading it and hiring me because of it?
Right.
And I think that's the bigger question. And we can get so caught up in a lot of those fears and the scarcity stuff and who has this and who has that. But at the end of the day, if you're making all the money in the world that you could possibly use, does it really matter? Is it really not? Is it really harming your business? And I also watch other mentors of mine, even Brooke Castillo, who I learned life coaching from, and she literally says, and I love it, she's like, take anything, take everything, take every worksheet I created, use it, put your name on it, go get clients from it. Because you know what? She's making $25 million a year. Does she really care if 400 small businesses have the same worksheet? It's not going to keep her from being successful. And so I've had such, amazing, I guess, response personally, just confidence around that kind of a teacher who's an abundant thinker. And I tend to be the same way. And so I think just don't get stuck in that, because guess what? That holds you back. And it's an easy excuse to use to procrastinate. Right. Well, if I put this out there, if I put this up for Toby to see, everybody else is going to see it. And guess what? You want them to, because it might be not that great.
Right. They'll help you.
Yes. All your peers will help you and give feedback and and so to me, the trade-offs for having an amazing piece of content that's going to make you a lot of money because it gets people on your list and then you can sell to them, versus somebody taking a paragraph or two or being inspired by it, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I think the pros far outweigh the cons.
Agreed. I hear you. And the thing is too, is to your, all of the big message, which is the mindset and to understand the abundance principles and so forth. At the bottom line of it, you can't argue the logic of, once you put whatever you create, once you put it on your website, now it's up for grabs for being copied or stolen or knocked off anyway. So, but I knew that, it would go through somebody's head. And so I just wanted to address it.
That with my own work, I really don't care. I mean, I really don't get that upset. If someone's, I just don't spend any time thinking about it. I could allow myself to get upset if I ever saw something like that, but we're all inspired by each other. I'm sure, I don't spend any energy getting upset. If someone says, in fact, I remember when I first did my daughter's nursery, and she's now almost 14 in a week. So that's been a little while ago, but I remember walking into a local store and her nursery had been published in a local little magazine, and they met me at the door and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're Tobi Fairley. We have recreated your nursery probably 10 times. And they thought it was such a compliment. And so at first you're kind of like, but then I'm like, okay, well, have at it. Because those people probably weren't my customers that were coming to that little boutique that sells clothes and baby beds and whatever. And it was fun. And it's just really served me well to never really get upset about that kind of thing. So, I've had plenty of things knocked off, programs I've made knocked off, and I just choose to go the path of abundance and keep my eye on my ball. And it's never, ever, it's always served me well. I'll say that.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is, to your point, one of the things that you actively help and teach interior designers to understand. And the truth is that if you listen to this sort of a conversation and you're just like, no way, then you're the but girl and you're not right for the program anyway. Just weed yourself out right now.
Exactly. And that's okay. And you get to choose to feel however you want. And if you are more protective and you have more scarcity about things and you have more fears and you want to be
sad for you, and we'll wish that you would let Tobi help you, but it's okay too. Right.
I remember one time years ago, because I felt this way for a long time, but I remember speaking at the very first bloggers conference out in LA because Adam Japko used to own At Home in Arkansas magazine, and we knew each other, and it was such an honor to be a speaker there. And I remember one of the other keynote speakers had someone in the audience going through this whole thing, and they said somebody had used their work, and of course you send a cease and desist or please take that down. Like, all of that is fine. But beyond that, getting so upset, he was so upset. And I remember just everybody listening to this painful conversation, and it's kind of like, what do you want us to do? Call the internet police? Like, what are we really going to do about it? Is it really worth hiring a lawyer and spending money? So to me, I just think that the energy wasted in that kind of fear, as opposed to I could take all that time and energy and go create something new. And that's what I always think. I think by the time that work is published or that thing is published, I'm already 15
Onto
steps
something
ahead
else.
onto the next thing. And
Right.
I'm not a one-hit wonder, and neither are the people that, even if they believe they are, that I work with. I help them see that there's so much where that came from. And once you just get in the habit of creating content, creating work, creating anything for your customer, social media posts, there's a whole lot more where that came from. And so the more free you can allow yourself to be and not be afraid of things being knocked off, the more success you're going to have.
Right.
So,
Agreed. I hear you.
yeah.
I hear you. It's something that you have to address within your, like I said, it's one of those things between your ears,
Exactly.
right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that we have these 3 courses. And so just to understand, we have the digital marketing course, the designer MBA course, and then the finance course, which you're going to be redoing again live. So if they join now, we're having this conversation in June of 2019, and it's going to launch again in July of 2019. So they have the ability to be firsthand in that course and have you do it.
Ask questions. But even if you watch the recording of it, you can still ask questions.
It's still there.
You still get access to me. It's still there. Like, it's all there.
Right. So the other courses, though, when we say that they're there, these are situations where once we're a member, they're there and we can access them and watch them and go through them at our own pace at any time. And then the idea of the 2 times a month live coaching calls is, if I've been working behind the scenes, completing the digital marketing course, then I come to you with my question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And you're like, okay, can you explain this to me? Or I've tried this and I tried a Facebook Live and nobody watched, or I'm not really sure what you mean by lead magnet, or how can this, whatever. And they'll ask questions and then I answer. And literally you can ask questions on anything about, and there's some people in there who aren't even interior designers, that are just other creative business people.
Right.
Either
graphic artists or whatever.
We have realtors, we have photographers, we have landscape architects. Like, it's a lot of amazing creatives, and you can even learn. A lot of times it's great to hear what other people think. Yeah. We get so close to stuff in the design industry, and it's so nice to hear, because we often think we are the exception as an industry too. And then you hear somebody else speaking that's a creative business, and you're like, oh my gosh, they have the same exact things that we have.
Exactly.
But it's really fun. Yeah, whatever you're working on. And I am so straightforward. Those who know me know that. All with love. I mean, we have fun, we laugh, but I'm very straightforward. Like, sometimes people will come on and go, okay, I know I did all that work on my client avatar and you approved it and I picked a niche and whatever, but I think I'm going to change my niche now. And I'm like, don't do that. And they're like, but the other one wasn't as good. And I'm like, but it doesn't even matter, because that is a procrastination technique that you're just trying to not go to the discomfort of the next steps of putting yourself out there. And so I always say, so I'm like, it's kind of like saying, well, I have a husband, but I think I found a better one. So I'm going to drop him and go, it does happen. But guess what? You're going to still be just have the same fears and problems when you get this. So I'm like, stick with the one you got. And at least follow it.
Just retrain them.
Yeah, exactly. Stick with the one you got. Follow it all the way through. Do all the steps in the program and the courses, and then come back and tell me if it's not working, because I can see beyond that. We can tweak it a little, but you're probably just feeling uncomfortable about moving forward. And I will be that straightforward on those calls, all with love. Yeah. And I know people know it's with love, and we laugh about it and I support, but it's kind of tough love, because this is hard stuff.
Well, there's no point, because we don't need yes men. If you're going to spend your money, $2,800 a year, and then you're going to spend your time both on your own with doing the courses, then coming for the Zoom calls. I mean, just like we as coaches don't want but girls, we don't want coaches that go, okay to everything. We don't want, you know what I mean? You can't get coached that way. You can't get your mind out if your coach is just always like, that's good. You know what I mean?
If you're not doing something that I think is going to work, I'm going to tell you, because it doesn't help you or me for my techniques not to work and for you not to get results, because then you'll leave and I will have an unhappy customer. So it's in both of our best interests for me to pour all of my interest, my information, my ideas, my support into you, and then you go and put it all to work. And when that happens, it is so much fun. And we have such an amazing relationship, my members and I, and people get results, and it's just really fun to watch.
That's awesome. Now, in a typical coaching call, I'm sure it varies month to month with people's availability and stuff. But first of all, are they at a set time, and do they change as the months or whatever go by? And how many people are generally in your little Brady Bunch group there?
So they do change sometimes based on my schedule, but also to give other people an opportunity to be there. Because some people, you know, like one month they had been several calls in a row had been on a Thursday afternoon. And of course, one person loved it and was so upset when they changed. But then other people were like, yay, I haven't been able to make the last 3 because they happened to be on Thursday. So they move around. Sometimes they're at 11 in the morning time on a Wednesday. Sometimes it's a Thursday afternoon. Like they're, you know, but they are in the middle of the day. And that's a fun mindset thing too, because people want to say, well, I can't show up in the middle of the day for a call. I have to do my job. And in one respect, I hear you, but in another respect, I kind of challenge people to say, okay, it's fine. You can watch the replay. You will get just as much out of the replay. I promise you will. But I love this little bit of a mindset issue that they have to contend with to go, okay, why do I not believe that I can take time out of my day to work on my business instead of just spending all my time working in my business? Because that's one of the signs that you're really not putting anything into place in your business if you don't ever make time for it. If you don't believe that between 8 and 5 or whatever that time is for you, that you can step away and do something to improve your business, then you're not ever going to fit it in, because before 8 you're busy, and after 8 after 5 you're tired. And so it's got to really be a priority.
Yeah, that's
so occasionally we do have a little group inside the program that's a book club group for those of people who like to read like I do. And so every other month we get together and we all read a book together, and then we come talk about it. They're super fun calls. They're really, really good. And everybody talks a lot, which is fun. And I talk less, and everybody shares, and it's just really fun. And those are generally in the evenings. But for the most part, I keep the other calls during the day, because I do like having people really kind of, again, to sort of dig deep and go, why do I believe that I can't set aside 2 hours on a Tuesday in the middle of the day to work on my business? That might be more important than some of the stuff that I'm doing with a client at that moment.
And how many people are generally there in a Zoom
So right
call?
now we have about 150 members in our program, and at any given time there are about 40 people probably on those calls, I'm guessing.
Good group of people.
I've never shut a call off yet that I had people waiting and I'm like, okay, we'll get to you next month. I mean, that could happen, but we pretty much always end close to on time. I might stay I might be like 5 minutes till the time is supposed to be up, and I'm like, okay, I'll take this one call, and I run over a little bit, but I don't leave 50 people hanging with questions. And
and the thing is, at least for my experience with running Zoom calls like this, not to the 40 or 50 people in it, but you generally have personalities that are contributors and personalities that are observers.
Exactly.
And they both are just learning in their way. That's all it is. And so I imagine with 50 people, you don't have 50 people that want to raise their hand and say something.
Right.
That they're taking it in, they're observing, they're understanding, and they're probably the same people who will go back. And are these recorded so that you can go back and watch it, right?
Yes.
Right. So it's like, what happened in that, right?
Yes. And we're just adding a new feature, which is so fun. I was just working on today, and it's going to come out next week, where we're adding it's called a custom podcast, but you can go into the podcast app, and we now have taken all the recordings and put them on a feed, so they live at a certain URL. And so our members will get that information, and they have a specific password, and they can load it into their podcast app. So just like they have you and me, your podcast, my podcast, on if they have an iPhone or an Android, whatever, but on iPhone, it's that little purple podcast app. Now all of the course content and the live calls are loaded on there. So if they want to re-listen later, if they're walking on the treadmill, if they're riding in the car, like, we want to make it real easy that they can listen to things, because just like with any type of learning, I believe you need to listen to a lot of stuff more than one time.
Absolutely.
Like, you need to, especially the course content. And as you listen to, say, digital marketing for creatives right when you join. And then like month 3 or 4 that you've implemented some things, you really should go back and listen, because you're going to hear a whole different set of things than you heard the first time. And so we make it real easy to not only have the recordings up within 24 hours in the program so you can watch the replay, but now starting next week, we're also, or so in the next 2 weeks, we'll have this up where it's on your phone at all times with you too, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. No, I agree with you, especially content like finances and digital marketing, things like that, because you absorb what you're able to at that moment. Exactly. And then you master that level. And then all of a sudden you listen to the exact same thing and you're like, oh, I didn't even remember that was the next step, or that's the next level. That's a different, and then you're ready for that. And so that's awesome that it's available that way. Okay. Yes. So what are some of the other things that we want to talk about this course? I mean, I
think we can totally, we can for sure keep talking about the course too, but I think just even talking about the importance of this type of content, like we talked about before. I mean, of course, I want people to know the features. We've talked about the price. We've told them what they get. I also now recently have implemented a little bit more structure of like the path, that you don't have to take that path, but a lot of people want to be told just do this and then do this and do this. So we've been creating really kind of like a success path that works for most people, so that you don't get overwhelmed with all the content and that sort of thing. So we can talk about that a little bit more if you want to. But I think just even circling back to this whole idea of why you need to be doing business differently than you did in the past, why you need to be marketing digitally, how this works for a high-end interior designer, and that's never thought about working this way at all. Right, like you're thinking, why would I need to go learn about what the heck a lead magnet is, or how to email my customers, or if I need Facebook ads? That doesn't work for my business. And I just want people to understand that it absolutely does. And I believe is imperative for us to really create thriving businesses now in 2019 and beyond. So if there's anything that comes to mind about that you want to talk about, I'm happy to readdress a lot of those kind of topics too.
Okay. So to your point, I think, and it's probably what's happening now. I feel like I've heard you mention it once or twice, once today and a couple times in our conversation, episode 419. And my guess is we'll hear less of this as the years go by, but it seems like it is the luxury interior designer that's resisting this idea that you have, right? It's the luxury, because I can see how the entry level and the mid-level designer is saying, okay, yeah, all my clients are buying on Wayfair and all these other godforsaken places, so I've got to do something else. But you firmly believe that it's the path and a viable option, not just for the middle level of design, but the luxury level of design as well.
Yeah, because what a lot of people think that I'm talking about when I start to talk about having different levels of services and maybe a scalable product, which you don't ever have to have that. Even if you have digital marketing, you can just market to your customer online and just do high end, and that's fine. That in and of itself is what you've got to get on board with, because you're
the very minimum
your customer. Okay, so that's hugely important. But even if you're considering the kind of scalable product of like a course or something that can be sold over and over again, people immediately associate that with low end, DIY, and super cheap. And what I want them to understand, that's not the case at all. And I did a podcast on this recently, because in, I think it was last month, if not the month before, in 1 week, I bought 2 different things online that were both $2,000. One was the big Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi launch. I bought that program because it was so interesting, I couldn't resist. And then I also bought a thing on memberships for both like $19.97. And I want people to understand, we're not just talking about selling something for $99 or $29 and meeting somebody at the lowest kind of part of the interior design food chain, which that's fine too, because a lot of people are going to work there. I'm nothing against it, but I want these high-end designers to see, like, you can be making $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a pop on something if it's got a lot of value that you've created. And to be able to create something once and sell it over and over again is a total game changer. than this waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for the next big whale of a client to come in. And so I help people understand that. And a lot of times people that are in the program, they'll bring me kind of, okay, here's what I think what we would generally call like a menu of services or revenue streams, but in the digital marketing industry, it's kind of called a value ladder. So kind of from your freebie things all the way up to highest end service. And they'll say, okay, well, here's the low end of my value ladder. And I'm like, but wait, that customer that you're describing sounds nothing like your high-end customer, and that doesn't make any sense to me, because the whole point of this is to get people to enter somewhere at the bottom, and you pull them all the way up to, or at least a portion of them all the way up the ladder to your high-end service. So what that means is if somebody buys in at a course or they buy in at some private consulting, and they think they're going to do this on their own, and they get in over their head and they're like, oh my gosh, that's way harder than I thought. Let me just hire you for it. I'd love that to be leading right into the luxury high-end one-on-one work that you already do, if that makes sense.
Okay,
so let me. So for example, one of my members at one point was saying, well, I do a whole lot of new construction for high-end clients. And so now I'm going to go down here and do this thing at the bottom end. And it was a completely different customer. They're like, this customer has $2 million homes, and this thing is going to be $99 and it's going to be DIY. And I'm like, that makes no sense for you. Why wouldn't your do-it-yourself thing be for all of the people out in the world, which there are thousands of, that are also trying to build $2 million houses, but they're trying to do it without a designer? Like, why wouldn't you go straight across to that same customer and just say, let me create something for you if you're not going to hire me to hold your hand to help you do this massive project that you can watch or learn from or get consulting on. And you can see if that was at the other end of kind of your service offering, yeah, way less expensive, but it's probably not going to be $100,
right.
Maybe $2,500, which
right.
would be well worth it to them. But
right.
when they get in there and get stuck and can't do that on their own, where's the first place they're going to go to get help? You. And so then they may hire you for like a full strategy day with them, and maybe that's $5,000, and then maybe they just go, you know what, just do it. Yeah. And then you have another $2 million, home as your service. So I help people understand that we're not talking up to these I'm not talking to luxury designers saying, dumb it all the way down to something that somebody's just going to be like a Target customer. Nothing wrong with Target customers, but I'm just saying that's two totally different client avatars. Right. It's totally different businesses. And when they can get their head around that and see, oh, this does apply to me, I just was thinking about it wrong. Because I know in my own town, there are far more people building luxury homes without an interior designer, just with a builder. Right. And all the people that come to you to get their window treatments, how many people are trying to do that just with a builder and maybe a husband and wife? And he's like, oh, you've got good taste, honey. You can do this on your own. Right. And they're stuck. And so there's a huge void there. So I love having this conversation of opening your mind to working differently and meeting your customer where they are. And that does not mean that we're all competing at the $39 or $99 or $199 thing out on the internet. Right. So to make sure I understand your point, for example, if my typical projects right now, maybe I'm a designer that I've been in business for 15 years. I have a full pipeline. I've got work scheduled out for the next 18 months, and they're all nice size projects, and they're my sweet spot projects. They're projects where I am hired to do the design for the whole home. Okay. New construction home, just like you said, your exact same analogy. With this particular designer, what you're suggesting is, and I'm clarifying, I'm asking you, is if I know that I have a team, I have myself, I have my senior, I have a project manager, and I've got an admin, and I've got a bookkeeper. If I know that every single time I execute luxury design for this level type of client, that I'm going to run through these exact steps. Yes. So what you're saying is, quantify those steps, make them a process. It's a book, system. It's your system. 5-step system, 20 steps. I don't care how many. Right. But what it is, then what it is the thing is where you're really trying to make a point is, if that client were to hire me to do it, it could be $100,000 by the time we were done. So if they're going to buy the how to do it,
they're going to spend $3 or $4 or $5,000 for
Probably.
this, as long as I give them enough steps.
Value.
Now, they still have to do what you said. They still have to go, honey, you have good taste. You pick the sofa.
Right.
But I'm going to tell them before you break ground, these are all the conversations to have with the architect. These are all the conversations to have with the site planner. These are all the permits that might be needed. Make sure these were done. Whatever the steps are. And the reality is the number of people that will buy that, because they do have, like, the husband or the wife does have the time to do it, but they want that little security. Because to your point, to think that somebody wouldn't spend $5,000 on that, they're going to spend $2 million on a home. They're going to spend another $300,000, $400,000 on the interior finishes and surfaces. Yeah, $5,000 is a tiny little insurance policy just to have, did I check everything off? Like, how about like little things, like stupid things when you pick the faucet, make sure the spread is the right spread.
There's
right.
they can make that money. And maybe it's 2,500. It depends on what it is that you create. But
well, you could have one for the kitchen, one for the bathroom, one for the caveman room. You know what I'm saying? And each could be $3,000.
Encourage that you create it in your own specific niche for your own specific customer. Because here's the thing: we can't just put that stuff out there and be like, "Oh my God, Tobi, that's genius," and everybody's going to buy it. They're not. If you're not meeting them where they are, if you're not using the right kind of copy and language, building trust with them and helping them know you're talking directly to them. And so I help people figure out like who that is. And we've got people literally having all kinds of strategies to be more niche specific. Literally, I mean, there's so many, I'm just everything from, I can't even, there's so many things that are so interesting, like maybe a certain profession, or maybe a person with a certain kind of ailment, or living in a certain part of the country, or it could be a style that's a little bit harder to set apart because so many people do it. But like really digging in and figure out who it is that you really, really, really help. And helping, I mean, we have some people who want to work with a certain type of CEO, and their client is mainly the man.
Right,
it's
right.
a traditional customer couple, which a lot of their people are. Or maybe it's a second home, or like there's so many things that you can do and make it stand out so you're talking directly to the customer. And that's what we help you put together in the program, is help you figure out who it is you're talking to, what you're saying to them, what pain points you're solving, what you should give to them, what your program or course or thing, or it could just be consulting one-on-one, because that is even easier to sell at a higher price, but it's not all procurement, or maybe it's not in person. Right. It's just like this, where you're meeting on Zoom regularly. Like there's so many possibilities, but we help people in our membership dig in and figure out what's right for them and how to connect with their audience. So we have people that are working with empty nesters. We have people that are working with single women over 50 building a home. We have people that are working with divorced men, or, you know, like there's so many things, and it's so smart, and we've really dialed in their messaging, which is so much fun. And then when they start talking about that, like you are thinking about if you're talking about a divorced woman, like she has a whole different set of problems to build a house than a married woman.
That's right.
With a second income, with somebody else, with a second set of eyes, maybe, there's so many factors that are going to matter. And honestly, not to be sexist, but it is making sure you're not taking advantage of as a woman, making sure you know the questions to ask, making sure you have your finances in order. And so that particular program or consulting only service or message has to be specific to that lady. So when she reads it, she's like, oh my gosh, finally somebody who's going to have my back.
Yes.
It's going to fix my problems. It's going to be there and hold my hand through this process. And you can literally hold someone's hand through a program or a course. You can hold someone's hand. Even if they can jump on a call once a month with you, and they've all bought this program, or they can be in a Facebook group. There's so many cool things you can do, and technology affords us so many ways to meet people where they are. And my favorite thing is to help people open their mind to the possibilities, and start to really specialize in what they do. Because we haven't done that very well as an industry, I don't think. We have people that specialize in kitchen and bath. We have people that specialize maybe in closet design. There's a few little areas, but for the most part, everybody wants to be more of a generalist, which is fine in theory until nobody hires you, because they can't really tell the difference.
Figure out what you do, right?
Yeah, they can't really tell the difference. And your work looks beautiful and your website looks beautiful, but you're talking about you and not them. You're not having customer-centric language so they can even know how to get started with you. There's no free thing on your website that not just a silly freebie like here's my top 5 paint colors, but truly something that speaks to, say, that divorced woman building her home, that walks her through a whole series of questions that she's like, oh my gosh, just this free thing was so transformational. I'm ready to buy whatever this person is selling. We're not doing that well. And that's what I want us to do so much better. And that's what I help you do.
Right. Well, there's 2 things in there. The first is that I think that I know for me, since I'm not an interior designer, I feel like I have a little bit more radar for when 2 things happen. When a designer's website is not unique enough, that is just about the pretty. Because I say it all the time, I expect it to be pretty. That's not your differentiator.
Right.
I mean, I expect the design to be gorgeous. And you know what? Sometimes you look at some design and it is elevated above, head and shoulders above most designers. But even then, even if I find there, I could find 10 others that are at that space that you are. So your differentiator, it has to call to me, just like you said. It has to. I have to know who you are. It should tell me who you are, and then because of who you are, it tells me why you connect with me. Why I feel like, yeah, she's reading my mind. He's reading my mind, right? So that's the first thing I just want to point out to you, that I think that we sometimes read our own websites knowing what we know and don't realize how much is missing in the information because we're so used to what it says. Okay. That's number one.
Because our ego also wants to impress our peers and forgets that whether our peers think it's the most beautiful website or not, at the end of the day, we need to make money. And if we're not speaking directly to our customer so they can hire us, it doesn't matter how pretty it is.
Right. That's it. Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out there is that I like that you very intentionally point out that whatever we offer always should be of value to who our ultimate ideal client is, because you're not advocating that interior designers leave their practice of design and do everything virtual or online or through courses. No. Right. You're advocating and helping educate us that this is the new place that the consumer is going to find us.
Yes.
And so when they find us through something digital, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or our website, that you want to have something there that keeps them to you and draws them through. And what your point is to create a value opt-in course or whatever it might be, that not to, if you are the luxury designer that swims in the lane of $2 million homes and, $500,000 budgets, then we're not the same designer that offers, 3 paint colors for $99. There's a valuable market for the designer that does that, but that's the designer that's going to do a one guest bedroom for $5,000, right? Because that's a viable income.
Something that you can offer that's far less expensive than your $5,000, that people can start to know you, like you, trust you. Because, and when we've all heard, if we've studied marketing at all, that people have to come in contact with you 7 to 10 times. And so when we think about, to me, when you think about, if you see it like it is on a ladder, or to me, it looks more like a staircase kind of, and your high-end design is at the very top, think of all the space between that top stair and the bottom stair.
Right.
It's a big gaping hole that we put nothing in. So unless they have on their own worked all the way through all of the steps and all the conclusions to get all the way up to saying, yes, let me give $500,000 to somebody.
Right.
Unless they're already there when they find you or get to your site, you're missing every other opportunity. You're not nurturing anyone to know who you are. You're not offering them anything to get started, to learn how you work or what, that you believe in or how you could help them. And I just think there's a huge, huge gap between that top rung and every other piece of contact you should be having with that customer. And then we're so confused why so few people hire us at that that place, right?
Right. Like you're going to get a referral at that level, but it's the stranger. What entices the stranger to do that with you? And I love that. And I think that is part of the message that I don't know anybody else that's saying it but you, Tobi. I have to say.
I love that, Luann.
No, I really don't. And
you say that because
I have to say,
I love to do that. I love to go, what are we missing? What is broken? How do I fix it? How do I think so far out of the box that nobody else ever thinks? And then bring it back to reality and go, okay, what can we do? Thank you.
And
that's a huge compliment.
No, and I mean, look, I'm over 440 interviews at this point. I've talked to a couple of people in the industry, I would say. And the thing about it is for anybody that's listening that does specialize in digital marketing, of course, I have Kay Whitaker, who is one of my favorites, right?
Really
I'm
good.
not saying that these other experts haven't described this process.
Exactly.
Okay? But what I'm saying is I've never heard anybody relate it to the luxury, that truly $500,000, designer that's going to do a project at that level. It's the typical conversation is we have the conversation, but we have it at a level where the entry level and the mid-level designer can understand that use this as a way to make money on your way to making money. And so this is the principles, to your point, the principles where we first started the conversation with your mindset, the principles, once you get a luxury designer to this mindset, now the principles you're going to teach them are the exact same ones that Kay Whitaker is going to teach them. But you're just saying, open your brain and don't say, yeah, but not me on this.
Well, and I do think, and I haven't learned Kay's content, but I've heard wonderful things about her from you and from Rachel Cannon. And so you're just using her as an example. And absolutely, yes, those are the same. But I do love that I bring the perspective of being in the industry, in the trenches, studying it all the time. And I think that what's really, I had a thought, let me think about it. Oh, okay. So why would a luxury and interior designer want to do this anyway? So if we're taking that example you gave and their pipeline's full for 18 months and they can't think about anything else, at that moment, that's not what they want to do. But when they want to do this is when a recession hits, when the phone stops ringing, when they finish all those current projects and then there's kind of crickets chirping because maybe there was a slow period. Or honestly, a lot of people I talk to just say, Tobi, I've been doing this for 20 years or 25 years or 30 years, which is like me. And they're like, I'm kind of tired of this. And unless I have something for sale, which a lot of people don't want to buy a business if the business is really you and you're going to leave, then they're like, what else can this look like? How can I have longevity in this industry, and how can I cast a wider net and start making some money while I sleep to take a little bit of pressure off so I'm not having to work at this pace? Because otherwise, as that principle of the firm, we have put ourselves kind of in the middle of the wheel. All the spokes go through us, and if we stop, the whole thing stops. And so this is that alternative, not only to recession proof your business, but to add more balance in your life, to have some cash flow coming in literally while you sleep. To have something that can be automated in certain parts, to have something that's replicable so other people on your team can do parts of it that you don't have to do. There's so many reasons why that being just a traditional designer in the sense that we've known it is not sustainable long term to be both profitable and work at the level that we're trying to work. Because what does that mean? At that, what I call the more broken business model that we've been working in, if the only way to get more money is to get more clients, which means you have to work more hours, and it's just not scalable. There's no scaling that. You only have the time you have in the day. And again, you can't make it once and just sell it over and over again at that level. Your $1 million client or $2 million is not going to be real happy if you sell that same design to 12 other people, right?
Right, exactly.
And people are like, so do you want me to, Tobi, are you saying we should just make all these little templates of design rooms and sell them? And I'm like, no, because I mean, some people are going to do that, but those are going to go so far down in price. That's going to be like $1.99 in a few years because everybody has one. I'm talking about creating stuff that really is valuable. And so maybe it's not teaching, may not be doing the design for them. Maybe it's teaching them how to do it. And a lot of people are afraid of that too. They're like, why would I teach my luxury client to do this on their own? And what I want them to see is the person who wants you to do it for them is never going to do it on their own.
Right.
And the person who's going to do it on their own, like that example I gave of the person doing a $2 million house with the builder and they're picking everything up, they're not going to hire a designer. So you're not cannibalizing part of your business. you're just opening up another opportunity for the person who was not going to hire you anyway.
Right.
And you're meeting them where they are, and you're using your skills and your intellectual property in a way that you can really have a win-win, because they really get help from it. Like
Right.
it really saves them money, and they have a happier finished product, and you are happy too.
Right. Well, and the thing is, to your point, there's always people that will hire. So even, at a dinner party, one, CEO and his or her husband or wife, you know what I mean? Whichever the couple is, one couple is sitting here, one couple is sitting here. Both are going to build $2 million houses.
Yeah.
One couple could totally viably be the couple that wants the $5,000 package and runs around all day and does it themselves because they just love going to the store every Saturday and going to the lumber yards and going to the stone yards and blah, blah, blah. And the other one is like, stop. Like, I'm going to the gym. I'm going here. Just call her and
do it. Get it handled. Whatever makes you happy. Tell me how much it costs, because I don't want to be bothered with it.
Right,
and those are two entirely different people. But in every other way, they are very similar as far as your client avatar. It's just this one difference. And so how do you meet this version of that customer where they are versus this?
Because what your point is, the ways that they are similar is that they are similar in lifestyle. They are similar in the size of home they will build. They are similar in their level of taste and what they expect. They go to Target to get the BVDs for the husband. They don't go to Target to get their accessories and their furniture, right? So there's similarities, but there's also then that separation of, I really want to do this myself. We love doing these projects. It's just like cooking, right? There's some couples that love to cook together and some couples that love to sit at a restaurant together, but they both want the food to taste not McDonald's. They want that level of food, but one couple is willing to study and invest in the appliances and the food and the ingredients and the time to create a gourmet meal together. And the other one, like me, will just walk into the restaurant and say, please bring it to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, and so then when you start to understand that and you're like, ooh, I want more of that. And then it's not like you get rid of all your high-end clients, but if you do decide that you want to take fewer because the only reason you're packing your schedule so full is because it's the only way to make more money, and then something else starts to relieve little of that, and it can happen on a regular basis, and then you can use the digital marketing strategy to get that in front of people, and that's when you can use Facebook ads to get things in front of people. Then all the tools and techniques and technology are really important to you, and that's a whole other thing. So you can go piece that together and figure that out by yourself, or you can just hire someone like me and say, tell me what to do and hold my hand while I do it. And again, my favorite part of my program is the mindset piece, because even if you work with anybody that teaches this stuff, the missing component is always when most of us end up stopping because of fear, because of procrastination, because it's hard work, because we're not sure if it's right, or we're not sure, it feels silly or uncomfortable, or our peers are going to think it's weird, or whatever all that stuff is that comes up that you say is like between the ears. And to me, that is the most critical piece, because more people stop because of their mindset in life in general than anything else. Like many people could be super successful, but when the going gets hard up here, that's when we quit, or we start procrastinating, or we're like, I don't know. And what do? We just go back to doing business the way we always did it. And then what happens 5 or 10 years from now, as the industry's even changed further, we can really get ourselves in a pickle when we haven't hedged our bets at all, when we haven't gotten our business future ready. And I like to make this as easy as possible for people. And I like to hold your hand. And I love to be cheerleaders, because I truly believe in the people that I work with. And I want them to know, yes, you can do this, and I've got your back.
Well, and to your point, the thing is like, even if right now, we've spent an hour talking about this, even if right now we've got 5 or 5,000 designers who are convinced, yeah, this is for me. I get it. I don't have to just be at looking for the client that's willing and interested in buying a DIY entry-level product. I can create product for the higher luxury client. Even if they're convinced of that, which I hope many are, now the work starts.
Exactly.
Like, whoa, this is not like, this is not a minute. This is like, okay, so now we have that we believe it. But it is now all of that. How do I actually do it? What is, how do I create this digital thing? And what is the copy for it? And what is the content for it? And all of that other stuff. And like you said, you can buy a course that can teach you how to do it. You can look it online. You can listen to 50 podcasts that teach you how to do it. But it's this accountability, this every month, these 2 times a month coaching calls where you can say, I'm stuck here and I've stayed stuck the last 2 months. All right, hands up. What do I do next? And you'll be there for them in that.
And the number of places that the mindset stuff comes up is mind-boggling, truly. Like you're like, okay, first I have to decide I believe in this. Then I have to decide that I'm going to do it. Then I have to decide to get help with it. Then I have to decide that I actually believe in the things that she teaches me to do. Then I have to go to putting myself out in the world. Then I have to hit publish. Then I have to go create a 5 to 12 email marketing series and feel uncomfortable because I feel like I'm spamming my customers with email, even though everything has proven that that's the way to get them to buy. Right. And then I have to do that regularly every single month. And then I have to put pictures of me or video of me talking about something or create some content around why this is important or why I'm different. And they're just like, there's so many times that you're going to basically give up.
Yep.
And that's what having a peer community like ours, a coach like me, the content, that's what we say it is. It's coaching, content, and community, or coaching courses and community. I like even better because it has those 3 courses, but there's way more content than just the courses because you really need all of those components to follow through because we all try to quit on ourselves, including me, every single day in some way. I'll do that tomorrow. I'm tired.
Oh, what's funny is because until about 18 months ago, I developed arthritis in my hip. And until 18 months ago, for 41 years, I had been a runner. And now I run every once in a while, and then I pay for it for like a week afterwards. Okay. But the only way that I could do so much running over so many years and so many miles, it's so funny because I imagine there are runners that enjoy every single run. Maybe they're there. I can tell you this, that I don't know that I don't know how many thousands of miles I've logged in 40 years. Okay.
Right.
And that's actually, it was 43 years that I was a runner. When I tell you the runner's high, okay, it's there. It's a real thing. But, you really have to get to that 8, 10, 12 mark before you And I would tell you that by far 80% of my runs were 6 and 7 miles and under. Okay. Not that I didn't do distance running. And then you're not really getting into a runner's high at 5 miles. I'm telling you right now. At least
you're just
I'm
hearing
not.
Yourself try to quit the entire 8
and this
miles,
is
right?
This is exactly what I'm going to tell you. To be completely honest, there wasn't a single run that I ever did that I didn't have to say to myself the entire time 2 things. You're going to be glad when this is done.
Yes.
Okay. So stop thinking about quitting. You're going to be glad this is done.
Yes.
And when I would actually really try to say to myself, oh no, I'm really tired today. I'm really not in it. Or I've got you know what it is? And I would say, there's a saying in it that it's not your body that's given up. It's your mind that's given up.
Yes,
and as soon as I would think about that, I'd be like, are you really that tired to actually finish these 4 miles? I mean, do you need to stop and make a phone call and get a ride home? Is that this is what I'm like, is that really what you're saying to yourself, Louise?
Right.
I'm not buying it. I think it's in your head. I think you just are like, I want this to be done. And guess what? 4 miles at 8 minutes a mile, it's going to be done in a half hour. Keep moving.
Exactly. And 12 emails or 5 emails or a lead magnet or your website or whatever. But it doesn't end either. Just like running, if you want to stay in shape.
This is my point. 43 years of convincing myself every run. You have to do it every day.
Exactly. This stuff keeps going. And once you do that email series, then you got to have another one. And then you have to freshen up things. And then you have to come up with a new idea. And it's constant. And so again, I just always say, you can either not do it and suffer the consequences. You can suffer through it and try to figure out yourself and give up, or you can come over here where we're all doing it together and I'm making it easy for you and we're having a good time with it and we're got each other's backs and I'm holding your hand. And that's what has been such a fun process.
That's the thing. Your community and your accessibility to you is the voice in the head that I needed to rely on for myself on my runs. But that's what it is, because this is a heck of a lot harder than running a 4 mile, the rest just the way your home, the
Right.
building this type of product and this type of, marketing campaign and copy and everything it's not an easy undertaking, but it's extremely valuable to do.
Yes.
And then the layer of having the roadmap of how to do it, but the accountability and the community and your guidance on a monthly basis, that is worth the price of admission.
Yeah, and if you're thinking other than that, if you're like, just quickly before we wrap up, if you're going, alone, looking at the price, $279.99, you're like, oh my God, that's like a car payment. That's a huge amount of money. Then when you listen to what we just talked about and what all you get, you're like, oh my gosh, that paid $10,000 for that. Like that is huge. I could never get that for that kind of money, which is the whole reason I created it, to be affordable so people could get it. And it works because if it's a group program, I can help a lot of people at once. It makes money for me. It helps them. And then it's a win-win for everybody in the program. And if you want more hand-holding, we got other stuff. You can hire me for a whole day. You can hire me for multiple days. Like just like the value ladder works. Just like the people who go, I'm in here at this level. I no longer want to do it by myself. Just help me do it or do it for me. We have that too. But you got to start with the building the trust and getting to know and like and have people buy into the process. And that's the really, really fun part. I mean, it's truly, of all the stuff I do, and I create a beautiful luxury homes. I create 5 different product lines. I do all kinds of fun stuff. I travel to beautiful places. But I love this work the most because to me, transforming somebody's business is way more impactful and long lasting even than transforming somebody's home. I mean, it literally is their livelihood. It's other people on their team's livelihood. It's having people step into their dreams, making 6 figures, people making $1 million, like all that stuff. That is so rewarding to me. And I just am so grateful that I get to do that. And if people think it sounds fun, come on over and join us because we're having a good time and it works.
That's awesome. Oh my God, Tobi, you're amazing. So tell them what's the website and how do they do it?
So tobifairley.com is where everything is. And there's a tab that says Design You, and you can read about the program. We're actually in the process of updating the sales page to even reflect even more what it includes, because we create, just like with anything, you think you know what a program is going to be, and 16 months in, it's even more and even better than I thought it was going to be. So that'll happen in the next couple of weeks, which will reflect a lot more about the digital marketing. But go read what it even says now, because it talks about like the support and the community and what you get and all of that. And if you want to know more, you can just email. If you want to hear from me, if you want to talk to me, if you want to ask my team questions, you can email us at info@tobifairley.com. But you can see anything and everything about it over on tobifairley.com and click that little tab that's called Design You. And of course, I talk about this a lot on my my own podcast too.
Exactly. Well, I love it. And I would love for you guys to let Tobi know if you heard about it on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay? I'm not, there's no kickback on that thing, but Tobi did sponsor this show. So it is important for her, just like you want to know where your clients come from. Tobi would like to know that if you heard about it here. So, but I have to tell you, I just adore what you do. I love the message that you give. I love your spirit of giving, and that I can see when you talk about it. If you are listening to this rather than watching it on YouTube, if you're not sure, go watch it on YouTube, because when you watch Tobi's face talk about it, you can see it. You can see the joy that you get in helping people. And for somebody like yourself who has experienced the privilege of being a luxury designer and really transforming people's homes at the level that you have, to see that this is more fulfilling to you is really pretty powerful. So,
well, I think it's because I also, not only did I do those amazing projects, but I lived all the pain and suffering of what it feels like to build a design business or creative business, which is so hard. And I feel such a pull to share that with other people. So if I can just make it a little bit easier, because I did, of course, have amazing mentors and coaches and friends and people that helped me along the way. There's so much I didn't know, and I thought if I could have just paid for someone to tell me that, that would have made such a difference. It would have cut down on years of struggling and a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted money. And so I do really feel kind of drawn or called or pulled to really share that and help other people. And I mean, again, the podcast is free. I put a lot of free content out there.
That's right.
So I do it free. This is not for free. I do get paid, and I get paid well to do it, but I over deliver as I do in everything that I do, because again, if I'm not really helping people, what's the point? Like, what's the point? So
we've all wasted our time, right? And it's funny because before I let you go, I do want to add that one little clarification there, that I think it's funny because so often I know that my value is not being an interior designer, because then when you try and tell me something, I'm like, I'm sorry. That's just not good business. I don't care what business it is. Or when, exactly. I mean, there's times I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm like you. I'm like, I'm not going to beat around the bush on this. Right? That doesn't make any sense, sweetie. But the other thing that I think there's a value with not being in the industry is because when someone wants to tell me about their process or their service, if I can't understand it, then neither can the lawyer that they're talking to, or the other. But to what you're doing here, I think that you are uniquely qualified to do exactly what we spent that half hour talking about creating packages as a luxury designer, because you're not a marketing, you are a marketing person now. You're all these things now, but you have walked in the shoes of being a luxury interior designer, not somebody who did mid-level design that said that it was luxury. Right. You are completely established in your credibility that this is the elevated design that you did. And like you said, the designing the product lines that you have, and you have pivoted into this. It's not that you'll never take a client. I'm not even going down that road. But the point is, it's not like you reached a level of 5 and you're saying you can work with the level 10 if you want with digital. You're saying I'm a level 10 luxury, and I'm telling you, you can do it if you are too.
And
that's powerful.
This in my own business. We're working right now on creating products and things to put on my site, because I also always want to walk the talk, and I want to put stuff out and go, okay, before I just tell everybody else it works, let's make sure this works. Let's see what worked, let's see what didn't, let's see what people responded to. And I will always be my own laboratory for anything, because
that's powerful.
I have to feel very authentic that what I tell you is really actually going to work. If you do the work. And so I'm always testing and pouring money into things and hiring my own very expensive coaches and just immersing myself in this. It's just I'm a nerd. I just like it. I like to do it. And so again, why go figure it all out on your own? Just let Tobi figure it out for you, and we can do this together, because that's what I really enjoy doing with my time.
That's awesome. I love it, Tobi. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your energy and your love of the industry. And I know that this course is going to be such a gift to be involved in this community and this program, and to be there every month and get it. So good luck.
Thanks for letting me tell all your audience about it, because I know that there will be so many people that will just transform their whole lives because of the way that they run their business. So I can't wait to meet them all and work with them. And again, just thanks for letting me do this today.
Absolutely.
See you later, Luann.
Bye, Tobi.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.